In this question, it is given that let Nr and Nb be respectively the number of photons emitted by a red bulb and a blue bulb of equal power in a given time. So, it is given that Nr is the number of photons emitted by red bulb. So, N by T of red bulb is Nr and N by T of blue bulb is Nb. Okay. Now, this is equal to Ia by E. Okay, and E is hc by lambda, or you can say Nr is inversely proportional to E. Okay, because power is same, so I multiplied by A is same. So now you know that energy of blue light is greater than the energy of red light, right? So energy of blue light is greater than the energy of red light. So more the energy, less the number of photons. Okay, so you will say that Nr is greater than Nb because it has less energy, so it has more number of photons striking the plate per unit time. Okay, so you will say Nr is greater than Nb. After every question, please take a pause and first try to solve the question yourself. Okay, and then only you look at the solution. So pause your video, try to attempt the question yourself, and then again look at the solution, okay, to match your answer. Okay, in that way you will be able to understand better, right? So let us look at the next question now. 10 raised to power minus 3 watt of 500 nanometer light is directed on a photoelectric cell and the current in the cell is 0.16 microampere. Then the percentage of incident photons which produce photoelectrons is. So they have given you the power and they have given you the energy. E is equal to hc by lambda, that is 1240 divided by 500, and that is equal to 1240 divided by, or 124 divided by 50 electron volt, that is equal to 2.48 electron volt. The N by T value will be equal to power by E. Okay, and that will be equal to 10 raised to power minus 3 divided by 1.6 into 10 raised to the power minus 19 multiplied by 1 by E, and that is 1 by 2.48, because this is given in watt, the power is given in watt, right? So what we have to do is we have to first convert it into electron volt, the energy joule we have to convert it into electron volt. Okay, and this will come out to be 2.5 into 10 raised to the power 15. So this is the number of photons striking the plate per unit time. Now the current in the cell is 0.16 microampere. So the current is 0.16 microampere, right? So that means 0.16 into 10 raised to the power 10 raised to the power minus 6 coulomb per second. Now 1 coulomb is how many electrons? 1 coulomb is approximately 6.25 into 10 raised to the power 18 electrons. Okay, so that means this is equal to 0.16 into 10 raised to the power minus 6 multiplied by 6.25 into 10 raised to the power 18. So 1 coulomb is this much electrons, so this much coulomb per second is this much electrons per second. Okay, so now this is equal to 10 raised to the power 12 electron per second. Okay, so this is 10 raised to power 12 electron per second. So the current is 10 raised to power 12 electron per second, but the number of photons striking is 2.5 into 10 raised to power 15 per second. So the number of photoelectrons ejected per second is 10 raised to power 12. So you will say 10 raised to power 12 is equal to x by 100 multiplied by 2.5 into 10 raised to the power 50. 2.5 into 10 raised to the power 50. Okay, so from this you will get x is equal to 1 by 25%, right? So the answer will be 0.04%. Now, in this question, it is given that in a photoemissive cell with exciting wavelength lambda, the maximum kinetic energy is K. Now, if the exciting wavelength is changed to 3 lambda by 4, so the energy changes to 4E by 3. If the initial energy is E, then the new energy is 4E by 3. Why? Because energy is inversely proportional to wavelength. So if wavelength becomes 3 lambda by 4, energy will become 4E by 3. Okay. So Ke max becomes more than 4E by 3. Becomes more than 4 by 3 times. Okay, we have already discussed this in our last lecture, where we have seen that if the energy becomes n times, then Ke max becomes more than n times. Okay, so now we'll go to the next question, and in this question it is given that a point source causes photoelectric effect from a small metal plate. Okay, so from a small metal plate a point source causes a photoelectric effect. Then which of the following curves may represent the saturation photocurrent as a function of the distance between the source and the metal? So what they are saying is there is a point source and from there light is emitting, okay, and it is causing photoelectric effect from a metal plate. Then which of the following curves may represent the saturation photocurrent as a function of the distance between the source and the metal? Okay, so you know that intensity is inversely proportional to R square and saturation photocurrent is directly proportional to intensity. That means saturation photocurrent is inversely proportional to R square, right? So that means this will be the graph. Okay, as R increases, the photocurrent decreases. Okay, so this is the graph between saturation photocurrent and distance. Okay, now let us look at this next question. In this question it is given that there is in a photoelectric experiment the potential difference V that must be maintained between the illuminated surface and the collector so as to just prevent any electron from reaching the collector plate is determined for different frequencies f of the incident illumination. So that means there is an experiment performed where different frequencies are striking this, and for different frequencies we are finding the values of the stopping potential. Okay, so the graph obtained is shown. This is the graph obtained for different frequencies, right? Then what is the maximum kinetic energy of the electrons emitted at frequency f1? So at a particular frequency f1, see, they are asking you what is the maximum energy of the electrons emitted. Now clearly you can see that the threshold frequency, the x-intercept is the threshold frequency, so the work function is hf0, right? So the work function is hf0. Now once you've got the value of work function, then you know that E is equal to 5 plus Ke max. This is Einstein's photoelectric equation. Now E is hf1, okay, 5 is hf0, and Ke max we need to find out. So that's it. Ke max is equal to h into f1 minus f0. Okay, now let us move to the next question. In this question it is given that in a photoelectric experiment the collector plate is at 2 volt with respect to the emitter plate made of copper. Okay, so the work function of copper is given as 4.5 electron volt, and the collector plate, now collector plate is called the anode. Okay, so the collector plate is at 2 volt with respect to the emitter plate. That means it is an accelerating voltage. So this is at 2 volt with respect to the emitter plate, that is the cathode. Okay, now the emitter is illuminated by a source of wavelength. The emitter is illuminated by a source of wavelength lambda is 200 nanometer. Okay, so if lambda is 200 nanometer, then E is how much? E is hc by lambda, and that is equal to 1240 divided by 200 and that will come out to be 6.2 electron volt. So from this you will get the Ke max from the Einstein's photoelectric effect equation. Ke max is equal to 6.2 minus 4.5 electron volt. All right, and that will come out to be 0.7 1.7 electron volt. So this is the maximum kinetic energy. Now there is an accelerating voltage here, okay, which is accelerating with a potential difference of 2 volt. Now the minimum kinetic energy of the photoelectrons reaching the collector plate is 0. Now the minimum kinetic energy of the photoelectrons, so you know that the electrons will eject from the cathode. The electrons will eject from the cathode at speed which is anywhere between 0 to 1.7 electron volt, right? So if they are asking you the minimum kinetic energy, then you will say, suppose the electron has come out with 0 energy, okay. In that case, at this point it will reach, when this electron will reach this point, it will gain a kinetic energy 2 electron volt. So the minimum kinetic energy of the photoelectrons reaching the collector is 0. That is wrong, because it can emit with 0 kinetic energy, but when it reaches here, it will gain a kinetic energy of 2 electron volt because of this accelerating potential. The maximum kinetic energy of the photoelectrons reaching the collector plate can be, so 2 electron volt it will gain. It already had 1.7, the maximum one. So the maximum kinetic energy is 3.7 electron volt, and that is correct. All right. Now if the polarity of the battery is reversed, in that case this becomes the retarding potential, okay. Now if this is the retarding potential, in that case what will you say? In that case, see, in that case 1.7 electron volt, even if it comes with 1.7 electron volt, still it will stop it somewhere here. Why? Because it is stopping with a means force of, or we can say it can stop up to 2 electron volt, right? And it has only 1.7 electron volt. So if the polarity of the battery is reversed, no electron will be able to reach here. So that means if the polarity of the battery is reversed, then the answer in the part A will be 0. Yes, correct. Okay. If the polarity in the battery is reversed, then the answer to the part B will be 1.7 electron volt. No. See, if the polarity of the battery is reversed, then what will you say? It can lose how much kinetic energy? It can lose a kinetic energy of 2 electron volt, right? But it has only 1.7 electron volt, so even the maximum kinetic energy will not be able to reach the cathode. So obviously the minimum energy cannot be 1.7 electron volt in that case. All right, so the answer will be B and C. Okay, now let us look at this question, and this is a fairly simple question. In a photoelectric effect experiment, the electrons are ejected from metals X and Y. X and Y. Okay, by light of intensity I and frequency F. The potential difference required to stop the electrons is measured for various frequencies. Now, if Y has a greater work function, then which of the following represents the best graph? So you know that, first of all, parallel lines. So definitely answer will be A or D. Okay. Now it is given that the work function of Y is more. So if the work function of Y is more, clearly this length Y intercept has to be more. Okay. So the correct answer will be A. Okay. We have already discussed this in class in great details.
You can join me on Telegram and ask your doubts there, the link of which is given in the description box.
Now we will start with a new topic, and that is called force due to radiation. We know that radiation carries energy and momentum. So obviously it will apply a force when it collides with a surface. Okay. So we have to find the force due to this radiation under different circumstances. Okay. So the first case is when the parallel beam of light is falling perpendicularly on the plane surface. So this is a plane surface and a parallel beam of light is falling on the plane surface. Okay, so here we will divide it into 2 or 3 cases. Case 1, if the surface is completely absorbing, that means absorptive coefficient is 1, so it means it is absorbing all the radiations that is falling on it. Okay, and case 2 is if the surface is completely reflecting, so in this case you will say that R is equal to 1, and case 3 is if the surface is both absorbing and reflecting. Okay, we'll look at all these 3 cases together. Now see, first of all, let the intensity be I. Okay, and this intensity remains constant for a parallel beam of light because the area of cross section is constant. Okay, so it remains constant, the intensity remains constant for a parallel beam of light. So the number of photons which is striking the metal plate per unit time is equal to the intensity multiplied by the area. Area has to be actually perpendicular to the flow of light. Now this area is already perpendicular to the flow of light, so number of photons striking the metal plate per unit time is Ia by E. And suppose the wavelength that this light is carrying is lambda, then E can be written as Hc by lambda. So I will write N by T is equal to Ia by E, and that is equal to Ia by Hc by lambda. Okay, so this is the value of N by T. Now change in momentum. Now you know that momentum is means photons carries momentum, right? So you know that photons carries momentum. Okay, so if photons carries momentum, so if there is a change in momentum, there is force. You know that force is equal to change in momentum per unit time, right? So this is the net change in momentum, and the net change in momentum will be what? The total number of photons multiplied by the change in momentum of one photon divided by time. Okay, so that is equal to, force can be written as N by T multiplied by change in momentum of one photon. Okay, now this P stands for momentum here. Sometimes it represents power, P represents power, sometimes pressure. Now here it is momentum. Okay, so don't get confused. So this is momentum. All right, now so the force is N by T multiplied by the change in momentum of one photon. Okay, now we have already seen what is N by T, right? So we have to find out the change in momentum. So case A, when the surface is completely absorbing, in that case you will say that P initial is H by lambda. You know, we have already discussed. So if you have any problem in understanding this, look at my previous video again. Okay, so you will see that the momentum, we have discussed the momentum of a photon, and it is equal to E by C or H by lambda. Okay, you can write it as E by C also, and E can be written as Hc by lambda. So you will get Cc cancel, and you will get momentum is equal to H by lambda, and the final momentum is 0. Why the final momentum is 0? Okay, because it has been absorbed. Now the photon has destroyed. Okay, so you will say that the change in momentum magnitude, only I am writing the magnitude, so the magnitude of the change in momentum is H by lambda. So if the magnitude of the change in momentum is H by lambda, so now the calculating the force is very simple. N by T. Now N by T is Ia lambda by Hc. Okay, so N by T is Ia lambda by Hc multiplied by H by lambda. H cancel, lambda cancel, and it comes a simple calculation, Ia by C. And I multiplied by A is also called the power of the beam, right? So power of the beam divided by C. Okay, so this is the force exerted on the completely absorbing plane surface, okay, by a parallel beam of light. Now this is the force. If they ask you what is the radiation pressure, what is the radiation pressure, so the radiation pressure will be equal to F by A, and that will be equal to I by C. Okay, so this is the formula for the radiation pressure, and this is the formula for the force, IA by C. Okay, now let us look at the direction. The change in momentum, the change in momentum of the photon, clearly if you do final minus initial, final is 0, initial is downwards, right? Initial is downwards, so you will say the final minus initial is upwards. Okay, because see, initial final momentum is 0, initial momentum is minus h by lambda, minus minus becomes plus, that means upwards. So that means on the photons, this ground will exert a force upwards. Okay, but on the means on the plate, the photons will exert a force downwards. So I'll write here this force will be, the direction of this force will be downwards on the plate. Okay, you can say direction of this force will be, I'll write it like this, the direction of this force will be, the direction of this force will be along incident light, along incident light, the direction of this force will be along incident light and perpendicular to the surface. Okay, for completely reflecting surface, that is R is equal to 1. In that case, what will you say? In that case, you will say that R means the change in momentum will be, so h by lambda and then h by lambda reversed. Okay, so the change in momentum this case will be equal to 2h by lambda. So that means the force will be n by t. N by t is how much? Ia upon hc by lambda multiplied by the change in momentum of one photon is 2h by lambda, and that is equal to 2ia by c, and this force is again downwards on the plate. Okay, upwards on the photons due to plate by Newton's third law, and downward on the plate due to photons. Okay, तो photons में force upward लगेगा और plate में force downwards लगेगा, right? And if they ask you pressure, the radiation pressure is equal to force upon area, and that is equal to 2I by C. And the third case is when there is some absorptive coefficient and there is some reflective coefficient also. Okay, the absorptive coefficient and the reflective coefficient together will sum as 1. So I will write it as force will be equal to, so due to absorption, the force will be Ia by C, and only the A fraction, the A is less than 1. Okay, A is less than 1. So this is only the A fraction plus R multiplied by 2Ia by C. Why? Because the force due to reflection is 2Ia by C. Okay, and due to absorption it is Ia by C. So A fraction is Ia by C, R fraction is 2Ia by C. So the net force is A into Ia by C plus R into 2Ia by C. So R can also be written as 1 minus A if they have only given you A. If they have only given you R, then A can be written as 1 minus R. Okay, so this was the case when a parallel beam of light is falling perpendicularly on a surface. Okay, now when the parallel beam of light falls obliquely on a plane surface, so this time a parallel beam of light is falling obliquely on a plane surface at an angle theta. Okay, obliquely means at some angle theta. All right, so what will happen in that case? So still it is a parallel beam of light, so the intensity is constant, right? So first of all we will find n by t. Now listen carefully. If you remember the definition of intensity, intensity is defined as So if you don't remember the definition of intensity, please go back to my previous lecture and refer to the intensity part and then again come back to this lecture, okay? Because this is important, right? Intensity is defined as the energy per unit area per unit time. What is this area? This area is the cross-sectional area. That means this area is the area which is perpendicular to the flow of light. Now, the light is propagating in this direction. So if the light is propagating in this direction, that means you have to find this area. Understood? Okay, so n by t will be equal to I multiplied by, listen carefully now, this is the light falling and this is the area, but we need the component of area which is perpendicular to the light beam. Okay, so now if this angle is theta, this is 90 minus theta, this angle is also theta, right? So if this area is A, clearly this area is the component, right? So this is A cos theta. So you will write here I multiplied by A cos theta divided by HC by lambda. So this time the area is not A but A cos theta. Okay, so here A is the area of the plate. Okay, so n by t is Ia cos theta into lambda by hc, right? Now again case 1, if you do case 1, then the surface is completely absorbing. If the surface is completely absorbing, in that case what will you say? If the surface is completely absorbing, then the change in momentum will be equal to h by lambda. But listen carefully, and the direction of this change in momentum, see, initially the h by lambda was in this direction and finally it is 0. So the direction of change in momentum on this plate will be in this direction, okay, because it is along the incident light. So this is the direction of the change in momentum, this along the incident light, okay, on the plate. If they are asking you on the photon, then it will be upwards, okay. And the direction of change in momentum is same as the direction of force, because force is rate of change of momentum. All right, so we have found out the change in momentum due to one photon. You know that the force is n by t multiplied by the change in momentum of one photon. So that will be equal to n by t is Ia cos theta lambda by hc multiplied by h by lambda, and from this you will see that the force comes out to be Ia cos theta by c. Now once you get the force, they'll ask you the pressure. Now finding the pressure is tricky here. Why? The pressure is defined as the component of force which is perpendicular to the surface divided by area. Okay, so the pressure is defined as the component of force which is perpendicular to the surface divided by area. Okay, so everybody write the notes carefully. Okay, sometimes I might say but I will not write here. Okay, so you take your notes carefully. Okay, you every time you should write the notes, right? Now this is the direction of the force, but we actually need this component. Now if this angle is theta, this is also theta, right? So I will write here it is equal to f cos theta divided by the area of the surface, that is A. Okay, so from this you will get Ia cos square theta divided by C divided by A. So from this you will get the pressure is equal to I by C cos square theta. Okay, so pressure is I by C cos square theta. Okay, now I'll write an important note here. Note, sometimes instead of area of plate, area of beam is given. That means what they're saying is, suppose this is the incident light which is falling, and they are saying that suppose small a is the area of the beam. Small a is the area of the beam. Okay, so if this is the area of the beam, if this is the area of the beam and this angle is theta, this is 90 minus theta, this angle is theta. So the area of the surface, this surface will be A multiplied by sec theta, because this is the hypotenuse in this triangle, right? So you'll write the area of the surface as A sec theta. All right. So I'll write it again. The area of the surface is A sec theta. Okay. And what is the number of photons striking this surface per unit time? Because this area of the beam, small a, is that already perpendicular to the beam. So I'll write directly n by t is equal to IA by E. So I'll write n by t is equal to IA by E, and that is equal to IA. E can be written as hc by lambda. Okay. So now what is the force on this beam, right? So what is the force on this beam? So the force on this beam will be equal to Ia lambda by hc, that is n by t, multiplied by the change in momentum of one photon, because the surface is absorbing. So the change in momentum is h by lambda, and h cancel, lambda cancel. So you will say the force is Ia by c. Okay. Then the pressure is, you know that pressure is F perpendicular by A. Now this force is in this direction. Okay. So you will have to take the component of this force. So I'll write F cos theta, because this is the direction of the force and I need this component, and this angle is theta, that means this angle is also theta. So I'll write F cos theta. Okay. F cos theta is the force divided by the area of the surface is A sec theta. So if you put the value of F, you will get pressure is equal to I by C cos square theta. That means what? That means the formula of pressure is same whether they give you the area of the beam or the area of the surface. All right. Remember here the pressure is force upon area of surface and not the area of the beam. All right. And in case 2, if the reflective coefficient is 1, so that means the surface is completely reflective. In that case, what change will you see? You will see that the change in momentum is 2h by lambda cos theta, because this component will remain same, there will be no change here, and this component has reversed. That means there is a change of h by lambda cos theta minus h by lambda cos theta, that is 2h by lambda cos theta. All right. So the change in momentum is 2h by lambda cos theta, and it is in downward direction for the surface. Now the force is given by n by t multiplied delta. So you will say that the force is Ia cos theta by hc multiplied by lambda. So this we have already seen what is n by t, and delta p is 2h by lambda cos theta. So from this you will get the force is 2Ia cos square theta by c, and the force is in the downward direction. Okay, on the surface. And then what is the radiation pressure? Because the force is downwards, so that is it is already perpendicular to the surface. So I'll write pressure is directly F by A, right? Because force is already perpendicular to the surface. We need the component of force perpendicular to the surface while writing the pressure, right? So I will say that pressure is equal to 2Ia cos square theta by C divided by A, and that is equal to 2I by C cos square theta, right? Now if the area of the beam is given, that is small a is given. So if the area of the beam is given, in that case see, you will write F is equal to I n by t. N by t this time will be I A by E, because if area of the beam is given, in that case area is already perpendicular to the beam or flow of light, right? So in that case you will say that the n by t is I A by E, E is hc by lambda multiplied by the change in momentum of one photon, and that is 2h by lambda cos theta, and that is equal to 2Ia cos theta by C. So the pressure will be equal to force by area of the surface. Now if the area of the beam is A, then the area of the surface is A sec theta. So I will write again, this area of the surface is A sec theta, and you will get 2I by C cos square theta. That means again the formula of pressure does not change even if they have given you the pressure area of the surface or the area of the beam. All right, so the formula of pressure will be 2I by c cos square theta, but yes, the formula of force will depend on the area of the beam or area of the surface. If area of surface is given, it will be 2IA by c cos square theta, and if area of beam is given, it will be 2IA by c cos theta. Now in case 3, if the surface can absorb some fraction and reflect some fraction, so there is absorptive coefficient also and there is reflective coefficient also, but yes, it is a fraction. A plus r is 1. So the absorptive fraction will give a force in this direction and the reflective fraction will give a force in this direction, and the resultant force will be in this direction. Right? Now the reflective force is, we have already calculated here, the reflective force is 2ia cos square theta by c. So the reflective force is 2ia cos square theta by c. I have not written the value here, you can write it here if you want, multiplied by r, because only r fraction of the light is getting reflected and the remaining fraction, that is a fraction, is getting absorbed. And for absorption you will write the force due to absorption, that is Fa, and Fa is, we have written here what is Fa. Okay, Fa is Ia cos theta by c. Fa is Ia cos theta by c. Okay, and if you want to find the resultant, you have to take the resultant of these two. Now this angle between this and this is theta, because the incident angle was theta. So if the incident angle is theta, this is nothing but the vertically opposite angle. Okay, so the resultant will be this square plus 2 into this multiplied by cos theta. Okay, now the next case is when the parallel beam of light falls on a spherical surface. So this is a parallel beam of light and this is falling on a spherical surface. Okay. Now at an angle theta from this side, at an angle theta, let us take an element. This element is of width d theta. Okay. So at an angle theta, let us take an element of width d theta, and this element is actually an elemental ring. Okay, so this is an elemental ring whose radius is r, small r, and this small r is equal to capital R sine theta. And what is the area of this element? The area of this element will be 2 pi r multiplied by this width. Okay, so the area of the element will be 2 pi r sine theta, that is the radius of this ring, multiplied by r d theta, this thickness. So that will be equal to 2 pi r square sine theta d theta. You know that n by t is I into area divided by E. Now what is area? Area is the component of area which is perpendicular to the beam, right? Now the beam is in this direction. So the beam is in this direction. The area is in this direction. Okay, I'm only checking for this element. For every element it will be same. So inside this element you can take lots of smaller elements. Okay, so if I take only this element, you will see that this element is making an angle theta with this, right? So if this is the parallel beam of light, this is the area, we need the component of area which is perpendicular to the beam, that means this one, that is dA cos theta. So I will write, for every element on this element you will have to take dA cos theta. So that means for the whole ring you will take dA cos theta. So I will write n by t is equal to I dA cos theta is the area divided by E. E is hc by lambda. So from this you will get n by t is equal to I dA. dA is this 2 pi r square sine theta d theta. 2 pi r square sine theta d theta cos theta divided by hc. Okay. Now df, you know that the force is n by t multiplied by the change in momentum. Now to find the change in momentum, we will have to take two cases. First case is, we will assume that this is completely absorptive, or in one case we will assume that it is completely reflective. So here first we are assuming that it is completely reflective. Okay, so if it is completely reflective, in that case this is the beam. After reflection it will move in this direction. So this is just like the simple case of reflection where the change in momentum is 2h by lambda cos theta. So here also the change in momentum will be 2h by lambda cos theta, this theta is the angle. Okay, so the change in momentum is 2h by lambda cos theta. So the net force will be equal to n by t, this is n by t, okay, I lambda 2 pi r square sine theta cos theta d theta by hc multiplied by the change in momentum, and that is equal to 2h by lambda cos theta. This force is along the change in momentum, and the change in momentum is in this direction. So this is the direction of the force. Okay, now if this is the direction of the force on this element, then on a symmetric element the force will be in this direction. All right, that means this component of force, that is df sine theta, is going to be cancelled out. So the only component of force that will remain is df cos theta. So that means from every element on this element, so from every small element on this ring element, you will need only this df cos theta. That means from this whole ring you will only need this df cos theta, right? So from that is why we will integrate to find the net force, and that will be equal to integration df cos theta, because we will need only the cos theta component from every element. So I will write 4i pi r square by c integration of sine theta cos cube theta, this is cos square theta, and from one more cos theta is there, so sine theta cos cube theta d theta. Integration limits. Now the light can reach only up to this point. The light cannot strike this side of the surface, right? So we will integrate it only from 0 to pi by 2. So I'll integrate it from theta equal to 0, because we started the measurement from here and this side was 0 and this is pi by 2. Okay, so we will integrate it from 0 to pi by 2. So if you integrate it from 0 to pi by 2, you can integrate this by substitution. By taking cos theta is equal to t, you will get sine theta d theta is equal to dt minus. Okay, so from this you will get integration of minus t cube by 3 dt, that is minus t power 4 by 4, and t is nothing but cos theta, so you can put cos theta cos power 4 theta by 4 from 0 to pi by 2. Now cos 0 is 1 and cos pi by 2 is 0, so you will get this integration as 1 by 4. Just put it here 1 by 4, you will get 4 I pi r square by c into 1 by 4, and that is equal to I by c into pi r square. So the net force is I by c into pi r square. Now case 2, in case 2 the surface is completely absorptive. Okay, so if the surface is completely absorptive, in that case what will you say? You will say that a is equal to 1 and the change in momentum this time is in this direction itself, and the change in momentum is h by lambda. Okay, because initial momentum is h by lambda and finally the momentum is 0 because it is completely absorbed. So the change in momentum will be h by lambda and it will be in the direction of the propagation, and on every element it will be in the same direction. So you can, this time you will say that f is directly equal to integration df, but for that first we have to find the df. Now you know that df is equal to n by t into change in momentum. Now n by t is same, so the n by t value is same, and that is equal to I lambda 2 pi r square sine theta cos theta d theta divided by hc. So the n by t value we will again put it here, and just the change in momentum this time is not 2h by lambda cos theta, but it is h by lambda, and from this you will get df is equal to, again lambda will get cancelled out, h will get cancelled out, and you will get df is equal to 2I pi r square by c sine theta cos theta d theta. Okay, now this net force will, I have already discussed this, that net force will be equal to integration df, and this integration df will be integration, means these are constants, so integration 2 sine theta cos theta actually can be written as sine 2 theta d theta, and integrate it again from 0 to pi by 2. Why? Because we have to go only from this to this, we cannot go in this side because the light cannot reach this side, right? So we will integrate it from 0 to pi by 2, and you will say that the net force is equal to I by c multiplied by pi r square. So the net force actually is same whether the surface is absorptive or the surface is reflective, okay, in case of a spherical surface, right? So the net force is nothing but I by c multiplied by projected area. You know that the projected area of a hemisphere is this area, this is pi r square. Okay, so I'll write this as the net force is I by c multiplied by the projected area in both cases. Now in the next part we will discuss the force on a hemisphere due to a point source of light placed at the center. So this is the point source of light and this is placed at the center of the sphere. Now if the sphere was complete, the net force will be 0 by symmetry, because on this side the force will be upwards and on this side the force will be downwards, and the net force will be 0 by symmetry. So I'll write, if the sphere is complete, net force on the sphere is 0 by symmetry. Alright, now there is a point source of light whose power suppose is P. Now listen carefully, in this case the light is not parallel. Light is not parallel, in fact light is radial. So if light is radial, in that case what will you say? Intensity varies with position, right? In fact intensity decreases with position. Okay, intensity is inversely proportional to r square. But at every point on this surface, the distance from the point source is same, so the intensity is same. So at every point on the surface, the intensity is same. The intensity is same because distance is same, and the distance is equal to r. So you will say intensity at every point will be P by 4 pi r square. Okay, so for the time being I will write it as I only. After that, at the end when we derive the formula, we will say we will replace I with P by 4 pi r square. Alright, now so at every point the intensity is I. Now first thing that we have to do again is, find the number of photons striking the sphere per unit time, right? So obviously for every point the area vector is a different direction, so I'll have to take the element, right? So let us take one element. So at an angle theta, let us take an element of width d theta, and this area is dA. Okay, this area is dA. Okay, now this dA is already perpendicular to the flow of light, because light is flowing radially and the area is also radial. Okay, so in that case you will say that n by t is directly equal to I dA by E is hc by lambda. Okay, so we have got the value of n by t. Now second, case 1, suppose the surface is completely absorptive. So if the surface is completely absorptive, then the change in momentum is how much? The change in momentum is h by lambda, and it is again in the radial direction. Okay, the change in momentum is in the radial direction. So you will write the dF is n by t, that is I dA lambda by hc multiplied by h by lambda. H cancel, lambda cancel. You will get simple answer as I dA by c. Now the thing is, there is a symmetric element here where the force is in this direction. Here the force is in this direction. You can clearly see that this component will add up and this component will cancel, right? So that means if this angle is theta, this angle is also theta, this angle is also theta, that means we need df sine theta. All right, so we need df sine theta only. So I will write f net is equal to integration df sine theta, because cos theta component will get cancelled out. So from this you will get I by c integration dA sine theta. Okay, but this integration dA sine theta is actually called the projected area. I will not calculate it. Okay, this is the projected area. The integration of dA sine theta is called the projected area. So from this you will get the net force is equal to I by c multiplied by the projected area, that is pi r square. Now I is P by 4 pi r square. I is P by 4 pi r square into C into pi r square. Now pi r square cancel. So you will say the net force on the sphere is P by 4C and it is downwards. Okay. Now case 2 will be when the surface is completely reflective. So So when the surface is completely reflective, in that case R is 1. Now because this is a sphere and radius is perpendicular to the surface, so you will say that the light after striking this again moves in this direction only. That means the change in momentum this time will be 2h by lambda. This is similar to this case, the case 1 that we have discussed. Okay, so the change in momentum will be 2h by lambda. So that means the net force on one element will be equal to n by t, that is I dA, sorry, E is hc by lambda, multiplied by the change in momentum of one photon. The change in momentum of one photon is 2h by lambda, h cancel, lambda cancel. So you will get 2I by c into dA. Again the same thing, the net force will be integration df sine theta, because the force due to reflection is also in this direction, and the force due to reflection is in this direction. In this element it is in this direction. This component cancels out, this component adds up. We need only this component, right? So I will say that the force is integration df sine theta, and that will be equal to 2I by c integration dA sine theta. I and c are constants, okay, and dA sine theta is nothing but the projected area. So I will write 2I by c into pi r square. So now I, again, what is I? I is p by 4 pi r square, right? At every point I is same, and that is p by 4 pi r square. So I'll write 2 by c into p by 4 pi r square multiplied by pi r square. Pi r square cancel. So from this you will get p by 2c. This is the force on the sphere if it is completely reflective, and this is the force on the sphere which is if it is completely absorptive. All right, and this direction is also downwards. Okay, so if anybody finds any doubt or unable to understand anything, please write in the comment section, and please tell me if anything I can improve my video, I can improve my lecture. Any suggestions that you have to give, please write in the comment section. All right, now let us look at this question. And in this question it is given to you that there is a point source of radiation. There is a point source of radiation of power P, and it is placed on the axis of an ideal plane mirror. So this is an ideal plane mirror, and that means it is completely reflective, and at this point at a distance nr, okay, there is a point source of power P. The radius of this mirror is r. Okay, then we need to find the force exerted by this light on the mirror. So force exerted by this light on the mirror, right? Now in this case, at every point the density, means the intensity, is different. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to take one element at a distance x. So let us take an element of thickness dx at a distance x. So this is a ring element, so we have taken a ring element. Now at every point on this element, the intensity is same. Why the intensity is same at every point on this element? Think about it. See, every point on this element is at the same distance from the source. Okay, so I will write because every point on the element is at the same distance from the source. Okay, so in this element the intensity at every point is same, and that is equal to the intensity at every point on this element is equal to p by, so if this distance is nr, this distance is x, then this distance is how much? Under root nr square plus x square, right? So I will write here this is equal to p by 4 pi nr square plus x square, under root whole square, so that is nr square plus x square. So this is the intensity. Now once you get the intensity, what you have to do now? You have to find the n by t. Now n by t is ia by e, right? Now area has to be perpendicular to the flow of light. Now the light is flowing in this direction, but area is in this direction. So we will need the component of this area which is perpendicular to the flow of light, right? Now if this angle is theta, then this angle is 90 minus theta, then this angle is theta, right? This angle is theta. So I will say that I multiplied by dA. Now area of this element is 2 pi x dx. So I will write 2 pi x dx, that is the area of the element, multiplied by cos theta, because we need the component of the area which is perpendicular to the flow of light. Okay, so this is 2 pi x dx cos theta divided by E is hc by lambda. So this is n by t. Now this time in the question it is given that this is a completely reflecting surface. So the change in momentum of one photon is clearly h by lambda, 2h by lambda cos theta. The change in momentum of one photon is 2h by lambda cos theta. So that means the force on this element will be equal to I pi x cos theta lambda dx by hc multiplied by the change in momentum of one photon, and that is 2h by lambda cos theta, and the direction will be downwards. The direction will be downwards on every element, so you will say that that force is equal to integration df. Simply, you will not have to take any component, because at every point the force is downwards, means on every element the force is downwards. Okay, so you will say this is equal to h lambda lambda cancelled out. So I'll write 4i pi x cos square theta, 4i pi x cos square theta divided by c multiplied by dx also. First we have to see that what is the intensity. The intensity is this, right? So I'll write here I is p by 4 pi nr square plus x square. So I will write p by 4 pi nr square plus x square multiplied by pi x cos square theta. Now what is cos theta? See, from here you will say what is cos theta. Cos theta is nr by under root n square r square plus x square. Okay, so from this I will write cos square theta is equal to n square r square divided by under root n square r square plus x square whole square dx. So from this you will get n square r square integration x dx divided by n square r square plus x square whole square. Okay, integrate it from 0 to r. So from this you will say this is equal to p n square r square. Use the principle of substitution. N square r square plus x square is equal to t square. So from this you will get x dx is equal to t dt. So I will write integration t dt divided by t power 4. So t cube dt, that is t power minus 3 plus 1 divided by minus 3 plus 1. Okay, so I will write here minus 2 minus 1 by t square. Okay, and t square is this, so minus of 1 by n square r square plus x square. Integrate it from 0 to r. So from this we will write p n square r square by 2 into 1 by n square r square. I am first putting this value because there is a minus here. So for first putting x equal to 0, and then I will put x equal to r, minus 1 by n square r square plus x square. Now when we take the LCM, you will get p n square r square divided by 2 into n square r square plus x square minus n square r square divided by n square r square into n square r square plus x square. Oh, sorry, x is r, so I'll write r square. I put the limits, right? So r square. So from this n square r square cancel, here also n square r square cancel. Okay, so from this you will say p by 2 into, so from here if you take r square common, then this r square also cancelled. P by 2 into 1 by n square plus 1. Or I can write it like this, P by 2 into n square plus 1. So this is the force exerted by this point source on this disk or this mirror, which is in the form of a disk of radius r. All right. Okay, then today I will teach only up to this. So today what we have discussed is some questions of photoelectric effect and the force due to radiation. All right. So in the next class we'll start with de Broglie's equation. Okay, and or you can say dual nature of matter.
If you like my video, do hit the like button and share my work with your friends, your juniors, your seniors, and any other student who is preparing for JEE, NEET, and any other competitive exam. Also, subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so that you get notified whenever I upload my next video.